Hey guys, welcome to Sandals Church, where we are all about this vision of being real. And if you're wondering, man, how can I see this vision come alive in my life? Or maybe what does it look like in my life? Join us at sandalschurch.tv. And I just want to say thanks for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoy the message.
All right, welcome to Sandals Church. You know, I don't know what your home life was like growing up, but I grew up in a pretty peaceful home, pretty quiet, not a lot of yelling. I was the only child. That's one reason why. I loved me, so we all got along. And it wasn't until I went to visit my friends that I saw how, like, brothers treat each other and, you know, brothers and sisters. And I'm sure you grew up brothers and sisters. I was shocked. I was like, oh, my, if we treated strangers the way we treated like family, we'd all go to jail, right? There was theft, extortion, you know, blackmail, assault. That's all like a Saturday, you know? And I was shocked, but eventually I had humans in my life. I had friends, and, you know, I started to deal with conflict, like relational conflict, and I realized I wasn't the greatest at it. And I realized I had this little angry person living inside of me. I call him Yosemite Sam, all right? And every once in a while, Yosemite Sam would make an appearance. And I was pretty good at managing Yosemite, like in the basement. But, you know, I remember in college, I got a roommate, and all of a sudden, racket, you know, like Yosemite Sam came out about something. I was like, where'd that come from? You know, go back down there. And then I got married, right? You know, you get married to another human being, another sinner, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you lily-livered, racket, you know. And Yosemite Sam would make an appearance, you know, and I'd be embarrassed. Like, I'm sorry about that. Like, I'm going to keep him in the basement. And then you have a kid or two kids. And now Yosemite Sam's just chilling on the couch, like, all the time. And it was a place I didn't want to be, you know, in our home. And I remember when my son was in kindergarten, he came home. By the way, if you want to know how your family's doing, your kindergarten teacher knows how your family's doing. My son brought home a picture. My wife's like, I'm going to show you this picture he drew of our family. Now, I didn't remind my wife this, but I have a psychology background, child psychology. I know what to look for in those kind of pictures. You know, obviously things like sunshine and smiles. Interesting fact, hands are important. Like, if there's no hands, it means they're hiding something. There's something shameful. So I'm like, give me the picture. Let me see this picture. Here's a picture of our family. There's no smiles. There's no sun. The first thing I see is that we're all crying. Big, like, blue teardrops falling on the ground from all of us. And there's, like, rocks falling out of our pockets. We're falling apart, you know? And I'm like, son, what? Why are we all crying? He's like, we're all crying, Dad. We're all sad. We're all crying. I was like, what's the rocks? He's like, we're pooping. We're crying so hard that we're all pooping. And I was like, I looked at my wife and I actually said out loud, this is not good. And I'm sure she was like, thank you, Sigmund Freud, for that observation. But she didn't say that. She loves Jesus. And so I have this picture, you know. And we laughed about it. And then later that night, I went in my office, and here's this picture on my desk. And it was one of those moments for me that I just sat down. You know, this was 2010, 2011. And I sat down with this picture, and me and God just started having a conversation. Because I just started thinking, you know, how did I get here? Because I know for you, like when you're single, there's this picture that you have in your mind of what marriage is going to be like. Yeah, I remember when the doctor handed us one of those boys for the first time. And there was this picture in my mind of this happy, sunny family. But I had to face the reality of the picture in front of me. This is the picture I have. In our church, we call this being real with self. I had to get real. that the picture I wanted and the picture I'd created were very different. See, my son didn't make that picture, I did. I created that mess. And I was like, God, I need your help. I can't manage Yosemite Sam. He's too strong for me. I need your help. How many of you would like to redo one of the relational pictures in your life, right? Like, look around. We're all pretty broken. Our world is broken when it comes to relationships. We're horrible at relationships. I mean, even our highest leaders, from down to, just people you drive in traffic with, somebody fires bullets, we fire back cannons. We tweet back, all kinds of things. This is a real headline from this year. I've been watching the headlines about people, in drive-thrus and all this stuff. Some guy in Georgia set his house on fire with his family inside of it because a fight broke out over a box of Cheez-Its. That's a real headline. Now, I like Cheez-Its as much as the next guy, but that's crazy. Like, if you're hangry and you live in Georgia, there's about to be a murder. And I'm just looking at the headlines like, America needs a snack and a nap. But here I am with this picture on my desk. And you know what God said to me? Claude, you're burning your house down right now. You're setting your own house on fire right now. I mean, the headline of my house might as well have been, Dad sets house on fire over too much water spilled on the floor at bath time because my kids are having fun and splashing. Roommate sets apartment on fire because somebody didn't do her dishes this week. We're broken. We're horrible at relationships. And I said, God, I can't fix this. I need your help. Now, here's the deal. God commands us to love people, to forgive people, to be at peace with all people as far as it depends on us. But it's the book of Proverbs that tells you how. And for the next 3 weeks, what I want to do is I want to give you some principles that my wife and I live by now. We sat down that year and we said, we got to change some things in our home. We've got to come back to some biblical wisdom, some biblical principles. We got to remind ourselves of how we want to treat each other in our home. And what I want to do is give you what God's word says from the book of Proverbs. We're also going to look over the next 3 weeks at some of the godliest men and women in the Bible who didn't get it right. They blew their top relationally. Yosemite Sam, even some of the greatest Christians had some of their not so great moments. And God can help us. Now, one of the first people we're going to look at, before we get to the first point, I want to share a story with you about this guy. His name's the Apostle Paul. You ever heard of him? If you think you're doing bad and you feel bad, don't feel bad. Even the Apostle Paul had his moment where he went a little postal, okay? Acts 23. Look at this story. He's in court. He's being tried. Now, granted, he's having a bad week, okay? He's being tried unfairly. He's been arrested unfairly. He's in chains. And he's got people trying to kill him on a Tuesday, all right? So it's kind of a bad week in his life, He's like, give me a break. He's here on trial. And the high priest, Ananias, commands those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. So now he gets punched in the face. You ever have a bad week? And then at the end of it, you just, like, something happens. This is the last straw. And for Paul, it's like, that he gets punched in the face. He's like, it's the last straw. And he just reacts. Just words come out of his mouth. I'm sure that's never happened to you, but he gets punched, he reacts, he hits back, he says this. In fact, he says, God's going to hit you back. God is going to strike you. You fire bullets, I'm going to fire cannons. God's going to strike you. You whitewash wall, that's New Testament trash talking, all right? That's what that is. And he just comes postal, Apostle Paul. You hit back. That's our culture. You hit me, I hit you back harder. And we learn that stuff from, dumb places. My kids, a while back, were playing on the floor, was trying to play some board game, and they're just annoying each other, and it's starting to annoy me. My wife goes into the kitchen to get a drink. So she's gone like 10 seconds, and they're getting on my nerves. And finally I said to little brother, I'm like, well, just punch him in the face then. Wasn't my best parenting moment, all right? And I was kind of joking, but my son, he saw an opportunity, okay? He's like, Dad just gave me permission. So he strikes Aiden in the face. Aiden flips over and left hook, like Mike Tyson, punches him in the jaw. And then they both look at me and they start crying. My wife walks back from the kitchen. She's been gone, 1 second. She walks back in the kitchen. Everybody's crying. She's like, what happened? I'm like, you left the room. You can't leave them. It's your fault. Much of our broken relationships in life come from broken reactions. We just react, and we swing back, and we overreact. You ever overreact on the highway and then wake up and realize where you are? Paul's just reacting right now. It says God's going to strike you. Look what else Paul says. Are you going to judge me according to the law, yet contrary to the law, you order me to be struck? He knows there's a law above them. He knows there's an authority that's above everybody in the room, God's law. The only problem is he just broke God's law. And the guys standing by take an opportunity to remind him of that. They say, are you going to curse God's high priest? And all of a sudden, Paul has to face this decision. Am I going to let anger continue driving this conversation? Am I going to let anger stay behind the wheel, or am I going to yield to a higher authority? And listen to his tone change. You ever wake up when you realize you're doing something, you're about to get fired, and you go, hold on just a minute. Paul says, I did not know, brothers. This is called an apology, all right? Circle this. I did not know, brothers, that he was the high priest. For it is written. You hear me? He's appealing. There is an authority over him. Even in his anger, there's an authority bigger than his emotions. It is written, you shall not speak evil of your people. I want you to write this down. I must make God's word the final word. If you want to have peaceful relationships with people, peaceful relationships in your home, you have to have an authority that's greater than your emotions. And you have to let God's word be the final word on things. You ever have somebody in your life that just always has to have the last word about every argument? They got to have the final say, final argument. God says, let me have the last word. Trust me that it works. Trust me that forgiving works. Trust me that you don't have to hit back. Trust me. The problem is we don't trust God. We kind of make up our own rules. And I don't like playing games with people that don't play by the rules. Do you? Our world they make up any rules they want. My wife when she was in high school, her church youth group went to play a game of softball, and they had this kid in their youth group who was homeschooled. And if you're homeschooled, we love you, all right? Homeschooling in the 80s, 90s wasn't the awesome thing that it was today, all right? Back in the 80s, 90s, homeschool kids they're a little sheltered, okay? They probably hadn't seen the sun. The kids that they play the harp, but they'd never seen a baseball. So she had this kid, they were going to play softball, and the youth minister had to teach this teenage boy how to hold a baseball bat. And so everybody's on the side just sort of saying a little prayer for poor Jimmy. You know, he steps up to the plate, and the first one rolls past him. He swings at it anyway, you know. Say another prayer. They toss up the ball. Jimmy hits it. By some miracle of God, he hits this ball. And so they all start yelling. They're like, run! Right, run, Jimmy. So he starts running. Of course, he carries the bat. You know, he runs, slides into the plate. It's silent. It's just dead silent. The youth minister has to go over and go, Jimmy, you're out. Man, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I got here before the ball. He's like, yeah, but you ran to third base. First base is over there. He's like, yeah, but it looks shorter. Well, you got to run all the bases, right? I'm going to take a shortcut. That's what people do in our world. It's like, what are you running all the bases for? It takes too long. I'm just going to hit you back. That's what our world does. The reason our world is broken is people who God has designed to forgive each other hit back. People who God has designed to apologize return evil for evil. They take a shortcut. That's the proverbs of our world. The proverbs that your friends and family live by, some of them, are proverbs like, the ends justifies the what? How's that working for us? What about this one? All is fair in love and, yeah, how's that working for us? You want North Korea saying that? All's fair. Our world says, man, take the shortcut. God says, trust me. My way works. Proverbs 30 says this, every word of God proves true. He is a shield to those who take refuge in him. If you want to have safe relationships, you have to trust God that his way works, even when it looks like you're losing, even when it looks like you don't get the last word. His way works. And God has something to say about marriage. You should listen to it. God has something to say about your relationships at work and your roommates. God has something to say about dating. I remember, oh my goodness, I remember my wife and I were dating, and it was almost impossible in our culture to remain a Christian and try to date and have purity. And I remember, it was a struggle. And we had set a rule for ourselves that came from God's word. We said we're not going to let our emotions just kind of drive what we do. We're going to look into God's word. And God's word doesn't say a whole lot about dating, but it says one thing, and we had one rule, our purity rule for dating. I'm about to ruin dating for y'all if you're dating. I'm sorry. Here was our rule. It's from 1 Timothy 5. It said, men, treat younger women as sisters with absolute purity. They're not your wife. They're your sister. And that was my rule. How am I going to treat my sister on this date? You with me? Where are you going to kiss your sister? It gets really clear. There's a lot of clarity. What are you going to text to your sister? What thoughts are you going to have about your sister? And my friends laughed at me. They thought, that's stupid. I watched my friends have sex. I watched my friends make out. They laughed at us. We dated for 2.5 years. And our first kiss wasn't until our wedding kiss at the altar. But listen, May 22nd, you know what? It'll be 20 years we've been kissing each other. And my friends, I don't know where they are. God's word proves true. You know what we did all that time? Instead of making out, we talked to each other, man. It was crazy. We got to know each other. We worked through conflict. Even before we were married, we got to see how each other handled life and conflict and stress. And she could see and I could see that we had authority above us besides our desires and our emotions. We didn't let our emotions get behind the steering wheel. That's when it gets dangerous. That's when we're at our worst. You ever get in an Uber and you have the you want out? You're like, this driver is not safe. Anybody ever have that happen? It's terrifying. Okay, I got to tell you this story. 2 months ago, I was in Saudi Arabia. This is a crazy story. And I flew there for an event. We landed in Riyadh. They had to drive us 300 miles through the desert, and they hired a driver to drive us. That's all you got to know. So I'm getting in this vehicle with my friends, and about 30 minutes in, I knew it's going to be a long trip, but about 30 minutes in, I noticed we're still in the city. Like, he's going 40 miles an hour. And so we're trying to figure out how to tell him, can you like go faster? When he goes 41, a siren goes off in the Suburban and it starts to shake and he has to slow back down. Because in Saudi Arabia, they have what's called a speed limiter on the vehicles. If you want to be a taxi driver and you want to be safe, you can't go any faster than 40 miles an hour. So I was about to lose my mind, all right? At one point, a truck full of camels passes us. You know how slow you got to be going when a truck full of camels passes you? My friends tried to take a picture. They couldn't even get their phone out in time. It was gone. And we were driving all night. I went to sleep. I'm like, I guess I'm just going to go to sleep. And I woke up in the middle of the night. We were parked at a gas station. Our driver was gone. And like after 15 minutes, I went looking for him. And next to the gas station, there's this little prayer room. And he's in there praying as a Muslim. I'm like, bro, we got to go. If you become a Christian, you can pray and drive. Let's go. Come on. You know? He's following the rules. He's praying. It takes us 6 hours to make this trip. So at the end of the weekend, when we had to make our way back to Riyadh, we didn't get the hired driver. Me and my friends and I, we found 2 guys in a van. How safe does that sound? We hired these 2 guys. Oh, yeah, this is a brilliant idea. And we just found the word for fast. We just said, we want to go fast. These guys with gold chains, they look at each other, they're like, we can do fast. We get outside the city, they lift the hood, I see this guy unhook something from the motor. We drove 120 miles an hour in a little mini sand van through the desert. The van was doing this. I was trying to grab stuff. There's no seat belts, you know? Like, the dude was on his phone the entire time. Never saw him touch the steering wheel, you know? They weren't praying, you know what I'm saying? These guys weren't, I was praying, they weren't praying. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, like I would give anything for 40-mile-an-hour guy right now. You know, just zap him in. I'm sorry. Took us 2 hours to get back. How many of you would agree that's not safe? Okay? Can we agree? That driver, that's not safe. But you unhook anytime you want to. Anytime you get a feeling, you unhook and you let anger get behind the wheel. And man, you run over your entire family. Some of you dads, man, let me just be honest. When you come home at the end of the day, your family has no idea who's about to walk through that door because you're unhooked. They don't know, like, is this dad who prays with me next to the bed, or is this Fast and Furious? Who's gonna walk through the door? Because if you can't submit to power, you're not safe to people. You're not safe. Proverbs says this, Proverbs 25, a man without self-control is like a city that's been broken into and it's left without any walls to protect it. You're not safe. You got no brakes. People can't trust you. Your family doesn't know what to do with you day to day. Does that make sense? There's no TSA. And ladies, you're the one smuggling in hurt. Guys, you're the one smuggling in anger into your own home. You're burning down your own house. I'm self-employed. Some of you might be self-employed. You know what my kids ask me a lot? They say, Dad, who's your boss? Who do you answer to? You boss us around. Who bosses you around? They want to know, am I under authority? When they ask me questions about life and the world, I don't give them my opinions. My wife and I try to say, man, God's word says this about what you're asking about. God's word has this to say about that question. Because we're not the authority. We say, man, God's word is the authority on those questions. We're pointing it. And we're under that authority too. Like with my kids, today, I'm going to go home. And they're going to say, Dad, we're tired. We don't want to go small group. We're tired. I'm like, you didn't do anything all day. Come on. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm tired too. I don't want to go to small group sometimes either. But God's word, Hebrews, says we should not give up meeting together. And so I'm under that authority. I can't unhook from that. There's a law that's above me. But you know what? That's what your kids find to be safe about you. Proverbs 14 says this, in the fear of the Lord, one has strong confidence, and look at this, and his children have a refuge. You're a safe person. For your roommates, when you have an authority that's above you, you're a safe person to live with because you don't let emotions drive day to day. You know, one time my son and he did something and I snapped at him. I raised my voice at him and he was crying and I needed to apologize, but he was thinking, like I could see the wheels turning. And he's looking at me and he said, Dad, the anger of man does not lead to the righteousness of God. Quotes James 1 at me, right? My son. And I'm like, what do you say? You're right. Like the stupid Real Adventure team teaching my kids the scripture. He knew, man. He knew there was an authority above Dad. And I had to listen. One of the married couples that mentored my wife and I, you know what they do? When they have a decision that they can't agree on or, you know, they can't see eye to eye on, they go to court. They have a Supreme Court in their life. They have 7 friends that are part of their church community, part of their community group. They invite them over. They each get to present their case for 10 minutes before the Supreme Court. And at the end of the night, the Supreme Court votes, and whatever the Supreme Court decides, they happily and joyfully submit to because they are under authority of a community. They're under authority of a church, and they're under the authority of the Word of God. It makes them safe people. You think their kids feel safe? They're safe. It's a safe space. Now, what I love about the Bible is it doesn't just tell us what not to do, but it gives us a mission. It tells us the race that we're running. And that can help us figure out like who to run the race with, but also what we really need, what we need to pack. It's amazing how many decisions God has decided for us by his mission. Write this down. Point number 2 is this. I got to let God's mission screen my decisions. I got to let his mission drive this, not me and my feelings. You ever pack the wrong things for a trip because you just felt like taking everything? My wife, it's amazing the stuff she packs, like 3 tubs of peanut butter. I'm like, you're not going to need that, and you got to carry it. I ain't carrying it. I made a rookie mistake this last trip. Instead of rolly bag, I took a duffel bag because I thought it looked cool, which sounds great until you miss a flight in Frankfurt, Germany, and I had to run through the entire airport with this duffel bag. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I'm an idiot, and I start doing inventory on what's in the bag. Like, ready? I'm ready to let it go. You know, peanut butter, you're gone. I'm thinking water, don't need it. you know? Shampoo, no, you don't need a shampoo every week. Nah, it just dries your scalp out. Shampoo, you're gone. Laptop, you're just a big iPhone, you know? Bible, I got some memorized. See ya, you know? You ever see parents making that run through the airport? Their kids are like 10 gates behind them. They're looking back like, yeah, we'll have other kids. Because they're on a mission. Proverbs 16 says this, the plans of the heart belong to man. Listen, if happiness is your mission in life, you're going to spend all your money on clothes and food and stupid stuff. And you're going to argue all the time about what's happy to you or what's happy to you. But listen, the plans of our heart belong to man. But the final answer, the answer of the tongue, is from the Lord. You need to let his mission drive your decisions. It's the best thing we've done in our marriage. In fact, part of our vows, our wedding vows, say we're going to make disciples of all the nations. That's what we're about. That decides our decisions. Proverbs 24 says this, rescue those who are being taken away to death. That's your mission. What if you began to decide things? Even as a single person, I remember asking God, where should I live that I might rescue people who don't know you? My wife and I, we think, how are we going to put our kids in sports and how much days of the week? And is it going to lead to us rescuing people from hell who don't know you? How are we going to spend our money? We bought a great kitchen table. You know why? Because we want to use it to rescue people who don't know God. And it solves so many decisions for us. Fights don't break out at our house about money. My wife and I have never had a fight about money. We just haven't. Proverbs 3 says this, honor the Lord with your wealth and the first fruits of your produce. We've never had a conversation about tithing, whether or not to tithe. It's just this has driven our decisions, and so we don't fight about it. It's amazing how many things you don't have to fight about when you submit to the authority of the Word of God and you submit to his mission in your relationships. Now, not everybody plays by these rules. And you don't get to choose all the passengers that jump into the car. You don't get to choose all the people that grab the wheel. You don't get to choose all the Uber drivers that you have. And some of you have relationships with people that I get it, man, they're toxic people. And I want to just make a parenthesis for a minute for that kind of relationship. Because some of you in a church our size, there's many of you that are in abusive relationships, physically abusive, emotionally abusive. And you need to get wisdom from somebody on how to have boundaries in those relationships and maybe even how to get out of those relationships. But that is a different category than what I'm about to talk about. Because for most of us, what we do is we allow somebody to take the wheel who really doesn't have the power to take the wheel from us. We give it to them. We give away power to people all the time because they trigger us. And God calls us to be responsible for our reactions no matter what those people do. How many of you have ever used language like this? Now let's be honest, because I do this all the time. She gets on my nerves. Is it just me? All right. Oh man, he pushes my buttons. My mother-in-law makes me so mad. And what you've done, you've given power. You're not a Venus flytrap. You know that? You don't have to snap at everything that touches your life. God's given you his Holy Spirit. He's given you power. So I want you to write this down. Point number 3, I got to stop blaming people. I got to own my reactions. God calls us to own our reactions to this world. I got to stop blaming others. Proverbs 16 says this, whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty. Guys, you want to be strong? Listen to this. He who rules his spirit is mightier than a guy who can take an entire city by himself. That's what it looks like to be strong, to rule your reactions, to rule your spirit. You know, when I find myself using that kind of language, that reactive language, this is what I picture. Sorry for the pirate, but this is the picture I get when I'm driving in traffic on the 91 and somebody cuts me off, and all of a sudden, Yosemite Sam shows up, like, and my arm flies up, right? Like my fist flies up. You ever have your fist fly up? You don't know where it comes from. You're like, I don't know what happened. It's just they pulled the string and that word came out. You know? Or man, somebody spills too much bath water on the floor, and Yosemite Sam's like, somebody sends you an email late at night, and you read it, and you're like, by the way, never respond to email till the next morning after you've slept on it. You'll look at that email, and you'll be like, somebody edit this? It's completely different. But we don't, man. We just go nuts. You know what I learned in psychology? Some people are so toxic that they'll do this, they'll pull your strings just to watch you dance. But here's the reality. You don't have to play their game. Some people do this just to get you to play their game. You don't have to play. Look what the Bible says. Proverbs 17, the beginning of strife is like the letting out of water. So quit. Do you know you can quit? You can quit anytime you want to. You can react however you want to. You can show grace anytime you want to with God's help. A while back, my wife, we were in some kind of disagreement. She said something. I don't remember the details. All I remember is that I was right, okay? That's all you got to know. It's the first time it's ever happened. I was right. She was wrong. I went upstairs. I was hurt. I was angry. I got in the shower, and I'm still like mentally, I'm ready to go back downstairs and just let her have it. You know, me and the shampoo bottle are talking it out. We got to get our game plan, you know? So me and shampoo are talking about it, and I'm like, she's wrong, and blah, 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 you know? And the shampoo's like, I know, you know? And I'm like, man, and then I start saying, man, she always, you ever hear yourself saying that? Oh, man, she always does this. Shampoo's like, I know. I'm getting a really good case built. You know, then I start remembering stuff. I become like prosecuting attorney, like exhibit 1, exhibit 2, you know? And I just felt, man, it's Satan. I just felt the enemy going, I got you. Like, this is going to be fun to watch. And it just felt evil. I remember at one point in the shower, I thought of something. You ever have somebody say something so psychologically damaging? It's like, you blink too much. You're like, what? You're like, it's gonna mess with you the rest of your life. You're like, I thought of something that was so mean. I was like, that'll make her cry. But I'll just save that just in case, you know? And Satan was loving it. And there came a moment where I was like, and God started speaking to me. He's like, you want your house on fire? You want to go back to you want that picture? Is that the picture you want to create? And I was like, God, I'm not strong enough for Yosemite Sam. Self-control can't fix this. I was like, God, I need your help to fix this. He's like, oh, no problem. I got you. So Jesus died once to break the power of sin. It's Romans 6. And I thought, you know, that felt pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That felt good. And I started realizing, you know what? I don't need to be right. Like, I'm right with God. I don't need to be right. I started feeling good. Listen to me. At this point, Satan flees your life. That's what the Bible says. And then you say, you know what? I'm not going to let Satan take my marriage. It's been 20 years, right? Like, we're closing in on 20 years. Am I going to burn my house down over this? Saying, I'm not going to let you come in that easy. This is a spiritual discipline. Do you know that? What I'm doing right now, Romans 6, Paul calls this putting to death the deeds of the body. The Puritans called this the mortification of sin. And finally, I was like, God, you don't treat me this way. You're not the prosecuting attorney of me. In fact, your character is not any way a reaction to my character. And all of a sudden, I realized, man, I was free. It feels good to be free. Here's my prayer. Is that this week, when somebody hurts you, this week when you find yourself and Satan's pulling strings and you're loading up something really good to hit back with, that you remember this stupid pirate, and you say, God, help me. Help me cut the strings of this sin. Help me show grace. Help me trust you. Your way proves true. Because your family needs you to start doing that. Your relationships need you to start doing that. Your kids need you to start doing that. But if you begin to do these things, if you begin to live out these principles, it proves true. Eventually, my kindergartner came home a year later, first grade. And when he came home, my wife said, he drew a picture of our family. I want to show it to you. And I said, oh no. She said, no, I think you're going to see this. It sits in our bedroom. Look at those smiles. Look at those hands. Hickmans aren't hiding anything. And then next year, my 8-year-old came home with this picture. Check this out. If this isn't the happiest son you've ever seen in your life, and we're so happy we're not even wearing clothes, I don't know what that's about. But listen, it might not happen overnight, but God can recreate any picture. He can recreate your picture. That's his business. Revelation 21 says, behold, God says, I make all things new. He can make your picture new. Let's pray that together, can we? God, we need you to do this. You say that anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. God, we're a new canvas, but we need your help to change. Lord, we just confess today, there's a picture that we want in our relationships of smiles and sun. And then the reality is, though, there's a picture that we've created by our reactions and our sin. And we've let emotions drive. We've let other people pull our strings. And today, God, my prayer is that we would say together as a church that we're just not going to let the enemy take away that picture so easily. God, help us to fight back with your wisdom. Help us to fight sin. Because Jesus, you died to break the power of sin. You want to bring peace to our families, our relationships. But God, you want to make us a safe space for the people in this world who don't know you. And so, God, would you do that in our church? Would you do it in our home? And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Love you guys.